All right, so this morning we went over when Gamescom was going to be kicking off and when we get all kinds of cool reveals and everything, right? We talked about how Monday is going to be like the big day. That's the day that you want to watch everything. We talked about how there's going to be that indie world for Nintendo that's taking place that morning. As you see here, 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern. About 20 minutes of information. Now, if you remember at the last Indie Direct, Cuphead was shown, and a lot of us thought, okay, we hear all these rumors about Ori, for example. So we looked at that and said, okay, this is probably where it's going to happen, although I guess it could also happen in a Direct later on because we weren't sure if Microsoft would necessarily show up in this one. But Daniel Ahmed has gone on Twitter and talked a bit about the indie world, the event that's going to take place. Now, here's the deal. Without, I guess, outing any sources or anything like that, generally what'll happen is a press release at times will go out earlier to media and they'll get a look at it. I don't know if Daniel Ahmed got a look at it or anything like that, but there are some outlets that are probably already writing pieces about the games that are in this indie world thing or pieces about stuff that's at Gamescom that's going to be shown. So I do believe that he probably has information, and he does talk a bit about it in some vague terms, and I have a few ideas about what he could be talking about here. Things that should get you excited, okay? Because Gamescom is, I think, going to be exciting. There's also a really funny rumor I thought we'd talk about here. Because it's Rumor Wave, why not? We'll talk about it. I don't 100% believe it, but it does get me more interested in Capcom's show, because if even one thing on the list is correct, it'll be exciting. But let's talk about what Daniel Ahmed said about Indie World. It says we're going to see another Microsoft/Xbox first game at the Indie World Direct on Monday. So far, we've had Minecraft, Cuphead, Super Lucky's Tale that have been Xbox exclusives come to Switch. If you've been following rumors/leaks, you can probably guess this one. So we, of course, know Direct Feed Games Nate on the podcast and Everything's podcast talked about a little while ago about Ori and the Blind Forest coming to the Switch. It makes sense. It seems like they would actually sell quite a bit when that happens because the game is awesome. It's a very good game. If you've never played it or checked it out, I would recommend doing so as soon as possible, whether that's on your Xbox or your Switch or whatnot. It's one that I think everyone should play, but Indie World seems like a good spot to announce it. Now, look, the thing about Ori is it's not a $60, what do they call it? AAA big budget style game, but I still think it's as good as a lot of AAA big budget games in terms of gameplay and just fun factor overall, and the story and everything. It really is just good. So yes, I could see that being announced here. And basically what Daniel Ahmed is referring to, of course, are all the rumors stuff flying around. Here's the thing, though. A little further down, he kind of talks a little more about this. And he does say 2 games will be shadow dropped. Both games are hot. We'll also get solid 2019 release dates for Creature in the Well, Blasphemous, Northgard, Trine 4, One Finger, Death Punch 2, Scaleboy, and a few others. So I thought a bit about the shadow dropping, and it's going to be hard, I think, to guess, any one game that could be shadow dropped. Like, for example, the ones he just named, I didn't even think of most of them. Trine crossed my mind at one point, but for the most part, the other ones I didn't even have off the top of my head. But there is one game that I would like to see shadow dropped, and I think there's a chance, and it would get people pretty excited. Like me, I would get really, really excited if this happened. And I'm talking about Castle Crashers. Do you remember that? They announced it was coming to the PS4 and the Switch with no real release date or anything. Castle Crashers could be a stealth drop. It could be one that just, one of those things where it pops up, Castle Crashers is coming, and then it's like available today in the eShop. That would be awesome. The other one was Silk Song, I believe, the game for the Hollow Knight expansion. That could be another one because Team Cherry has been fairly vague about when it's coming out. They've basically gone on and said it'll be out when it's out. It'll be out when it's ready. And Team Cherry is not like a big studio. I think there's 3 or 4 people or something. So yes, it's whenever it's ready, it'll be ready. And of course, they seem to like Nintendo and the Switch because Hollow Knight sold very well there. So I could see them working with Nintendo to maybe shadow drop Silk Song. That would be interesting to see that. I would like that very much. But yes, Castle Crashers would be big. I mean, think about it this way. What if there was Castle Crashers Stealth Drop, Silk Song Stealth Drop, a bunch of other indie games, including something like Untitled Goose Game, maybe getting some sort of like release date / window or something, and then you would see Ori and the Blind Forest possibly kicking it off, much like I believe Cuphead even kicked off the last one. So yes, Indie World is going to be a big deal. I think there's going to be some good stuff there. It seems like it'll cement the partnership even more between Microsoft and Nintendo with something like Ori, right, going to the Switch. We're seriously, we're starting to round up a lot of these Xbox games. If it wasn't for Super Lucky's Tale getting announced already, that would have been one that I could have seen that he's talking about here. But we already know about it. We already know it's coming. It's going to be a physical copy and everything. Ori. Ori seems like the one to go with here. That's going to be my guess on it. And my other guess is that of the shadow dropped games, it would be Castle Crashers. So those are my two guesses. Castle Crashers getting shadow dropped, and then Ori and the Blind Forest being announced probably for like a fall / winter release, right? Somewhere in there. October, November, maybe. It's most likely, I think it's going to be digital and then physical. I don't think it'll be both at the same time, but hey, I could be wrong there. Let's talk a little bit about the other rumor mill that popped up, definitely for entertainment. I'm just going to say that now. That's why I just kind of saved that to the end of this. It's not one that I would take overly serious. Like, I wouldn't look at this and say, all this stuff's happening. But Gamescom's coming up, and we love our rumors and our crazy rumors. And this one picked up more steam than I thought it would when I first saw it. And I looked over it some more, and I said, okay, a lot of people are talking about it. A lot of people are referencing it. Let's talk a little bit about it. This is from Storm Yorha, posted this. And people seem to be kind of excited about some of the possibilities here. And look, there are a few on here where I go, you know what, that could absolutely happen. And in fact, some of it probably will happen. I'll say that. We'll start at the top. Mega Man X9 in development. Going to be revealed by the end of this year and will be released early 2020 for every platform. Mobile game will hint at the new game. Now, X9, I do think is in development. I think Capcom has hinted at it one too many times for it not to be. In fact, this last Mega Man X Legacy Collection even hinted that X's journey is not done yet in the museum, the art gallery thing that you could access. So I don't think Capcom is done with X yet. I think X9 is a thing. I'd be curious if it really is set for early 2020 or if it'd be like late or mid 2020, maybe like over the summer. But if it is early 2020, it would have to get revealed, I would think, by September or October. And Capcom, of course, could do this in their own stream. Remember, they did that with Mega Man 11, where they did their own stream for it. So we'll see if they want to partner up with like Nintendo in a Direct or something, or if they want to do it themselves. Either way, or they just drop it on Twitter. Devil May Cry 3 coming to Switch. Yeah, that seems obvious. The first one they put on the Switch and got, I think, $20 for it. And I think more people bought it than probably should have at that price. But Devil May Cry 3 is out of the three that were on like the PS2 and everything, that's the best one. Yeah, that one makes sense. Here's where things get a little dicey. Beautiful Joe 1 and 2 getting remaster versions, 3 in development. I have a hard time believing that, mostly because of the way Capcom seems to treat a lot of their older stuff. Beautiful Joe 1 and 2 getting remaster versions would be awesome, though, and I'd be all over that, especially if there was a physical copy of that. And then, of course, 3 in development would be amazing as well. I have a hard time believing that with how conservative Capcom is right now and where their focus is, which is mostly like Resident Evil and Monster Hunter, and then remastering old games that are not like that are still popular enough to do so. I would question Beautiful Joe's selling power nowadays. Trust me, I'm a fan of it. I would buy it, but I'm more curious about the public view of Beautiful Joe at this point. Devil May Cry 5 getting new expansions. Here's the thing. They said they don't want to do a new expansion, but if you remember, we talked about in Newswave that they had to cut cameras and have people under an NDA at the Anime Expo after showing them something that was Devil May Cry related. That's very possible that could happen. Gamescom announcement would be interesting, but I think that would make sense with a timetable. So that one's actually fairly likely, to be honest. And most of these, I think that's like the only one that really references Gamescom. Resident Evil 3 Remake, that's I think most of us know that's happening. I could see that the Game Awards would be a great spot for it. Tokyo Game Show could work because they do have a lot of Resident Evil stuff there at times. The Game Awards, I think, is a great spot for that one. But yeah, I mean, come on. I think most of us figure with how Resident Evil 2 did, yeah, 3 is happening. Monster Hunter S, new title, Monster Hunter exclusive title for Switch. That's another one I could see. I think Monster Hunter can do well enough on the Switch on its own to warrant its own version, especially with the install size and the popularity of the Switch in Japan. And of course, we're going into that time period where we're going to have new systems coming in and the current systems going out, whereas the Switch will be just hitting like its prime years, right? So yes, that seems obvious as well. Onimusha games being remastered and ported, yeah, that I could see that as well, but that's not really a reach either, though, because Capcom just likes remastering older games, and I think Onimusha actually did all right. So, Resident Evil 8 Dino Crisis Remake being development for next gen. Dino Crisis I would like to see, but I still question that one as well. Resident Evil 8, obviously. In fact, I think 8 is going to come out after 3. I think they're going to roll right into Resident Evil 3 Remake for current platforms. And then, of course, it'll be backwards compatible with the PS5 and the Xbox Scarlet. Resident Evil 8 is going to be them taking their time. I think that's what some of the focus group stuff is for, because they might be going in a different direction with it, or like a weird direction. So I think 3 does not need the focus group treatment, whereas 8 does. And if they're like focus grouping early levels and concepts, it's going to be a little while. Dino Crisis, though, man, I would love to see Dino Crisis get that remake treatment, but I don't know. That would be cool, though. That's the biggest question mark I have on here. Beautiful Joe 1 and 2, unfortunately, probably is more of a pipe dream. But I will say this, fun list. I wouldn't take any of this seriously, as like them knowing. I think they are mostly like just writing down predictions. I would take this as a prediction list, but it seemed to spread. I mean, like quite a few likes, retweets. I see a lot of people mentioning it. Interesting stuff there. But look forward to Gamescom. I think it's going to be a fun year this year. I had a video earlier today kind of going over the schedule and when you can expect to see everything happening, live events. You definitely want to tune into, it seems now at this point, Indie World. And then you definitely want to tune into Opening Night Live, when they're going to have big game reveals, apparently, and all kinds of publishers and studios there. Exciting stuff. Let me know what you guys think about this down below, though. Definitely about any of this stuff. Indie World, the other list that we took a look at. I'll leave links to all this stuff down below in the description. You can check it out for yourself. But exciting stuff. Make sure you guys like the video if you enjoyed it here. Dislike it if not. Make sure you're subscribed so you can keep up to date on Gamescom, because I'm going to be covering it heavily. You'll see it in Newswave. You'll see any breaking news stuff take place, and we'll be live streaming and having some fun. So make sure you hit that subscribe and notification bell down below, and I'll see you guys next time.